And this is intended to be a just a deadline, like a accountability, just calling you out. And for those of you that were at the in-person one, um, this is intended to, what was your one thing you wanted to get done? Where are you at? Uh, what are you looking to do by next month? This it's meant to be short and sweet, but also have some nuggets. So we just love having these like little course corrections, correct the ship before it gets too off track. So with that being said, I'm looking at the attendance in March. Catherine, you were there. Do you remember what your one thing was?
Yeah, well, we actually had an accountability group of 10 hours of lead gen during the course of a week.
Okay.
So it was Peter, Judy Hebner, and I'm blanking. Oh, Sherry Reuter. So I was the person who checked in on everybody, and I didn't do very well. I probably rounded out at 5 hours every week myself.
Okay. So how many were you doing before? How many hours a week were you doing before the mastermind?
Probably about randomly 1 hour a day from here and there. I have changed what my focus is, which is getting listings. So I was working really hard on getting marketing with TPM Co set up and putting together a plan for door knocking. And also I had gotten some names and numbers for farming. And so I was working on getting paper out to them as well. So it wasn't necessarily phone calls, but it was definitely a focus. And now it's time to phone call and also door knock.
Okay. So was the intention of last month, it was 10 hours of either phone calls or door knocking, or that was like the intention? Okay.
Correct.
But you probably are doing like 10 hours of lead gen, but just not all like phone calls, door knocking.
Yeah, I would say that. But I'll be honest. Okay, so setting up those plans for the farm, that has been, I'm looking at my calendar, March into April. So yeah, I guess it is part of that month.
Okay. So have your activities gone up since then, or have they stayed the same, or have they gone down?
They've gone up.
Okay.
I was trying to be accountable. Yes, I have increased my activity, but not to the level that I really had hoped to.
Okay. And how about the accountability piece? Like, did that fall off? Like, did you guys check in on each other? Was that like, yeah, we're jacked up leaving this meeting, and then it's like fizzles out?
It started like jacked, and then um, one of the group, uh, one of the people in the group had some personal issues with a family member, and it kind of became more of a care about that than care about our calls. So I'm guessing that all the other people in the group have continued to keep that momentum, but we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, that is the hardest part of accountability is like you got to do it even when you're not motivated. Like anyone can have accountability when they're like ready and they're jacked up and they're rocking, but like, and recognition is also accountability. You're just accounting for your actions that you've done. So accountability doesn't have to be negative, but it's really fun to have accountability when you did what you should do. It's really hard to have accountability when you're not doing it or when you lost your mojo and things like that. So Okay, well, that's good. So now, you said you want to get back into that piece. Is 10 hours that number, or is it, I mean, is it something else or?
Most definitely. 10 hours has been kind of a consistent time frame for me across the board. Back when we used to do the mojos and then stay on afterwards, I usually did at least 2 to 3 hours and that would include the mojo of of contacts. And so now I'm like, I have to get back on that. And a large part of it is going to be door knocking the neighborhoods that I've been marketing out to. And that's going to take more than 10 hours, I'm sure, but at least that'll get me moving and grooving.
Are you, um, are you looking to grow, like getting in an admin or joining a team, or you're like, for example, like these conversations just, you want the higher level conversation you're seeing, or does like building a team in your future, do you think?
Perhaps. Right
Okay.
now, I'm focused on building my volume um, and staying in the right lane for my business.
Cool.
So I know that at this point, I'm ready to um, leverage tools such as a TC, transaction coordinator, to assist me with transactions. But I'm not at the point where I want to take on people and spread out that much yet.
Okay. Just a heads up, the our TC Renee Ryan, we haven't been having the number of deals for her per month where she's even close to at capacity. And so we just met with her yesterday and we're like, hey, if you want to like reach out or try to find like a small select few people that you could do TC for, we definitely are encouraging that. So I don't know if you know Renee or want to reach out to her, like interview her or whatever, but I know she would be someone that has the capacity right now.
Absolutely, I'd love to. That would be
One,
great.
one thing I love about Renee is she doesn't just do like hey, here we're gonna put this in command and here's the date and deadline. Like she's actually negotiating our inspections for us, planning them, like any appraisal negotiations. Like she's acting as an agent too. And so I don't know what that will look like, but it's more than like the average or normal TC.
That's wonderful. It's a great
Cool.
asset. Thank you.
All right, James Cricketberg, Cricketberg. Uh, are you at home or is that your office decoration?
So this is my wife's home office, but she's on leave and may not be going back to work. So now it's my office.
Nice.
Yep.
So you came last month too. Do you remember what your one thing was that you wanted to look at?
I don't remember what it was. I was so out of sorts. My son is going to be 2 months old tomorrow, and my routine was just like so screwed up. And I'm just like trying to get my mindset right because I've been like kind of negative, and I'm not a negative person. So it's like I'm just trying to get back on track. But I've been like really feeling it, like my wife wants to stay home, which I'm fully supportive of. And so it's like now her income and benefits are going to be gone, and we have the kid now. And it just feels like business is slower than it's ever been, and the expenses are higher than they've ever been. So I'm constantly in that state of like, don't fail, don't fail, don't fail, when I need to like flip it and be like, go succeed, and I'm just trying to, it just was really weighing on me because I was out of my routine and I felt like I just wasn't doing much, and I'm really getting back into the swing of things now, so I'm feeling better.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. I mean, it's it's a legit big, I can't think of a bigger life-changing event than having a child. Um, and so just giving yourself grace is number one. Like, hey, I wasn't perfect this last month, like, or two, I'm at terrible human, but like I don't know anyone that nails like the first month or two or three or year after, having a kid. It's just so life changing. And I mean, especially obviously for the women, but even for the dads, it's hard.
It's so funny that you said that though. I was thinking about that this morning. I was at the gym, which is like part of my routine that I'm like getting back into. And I was like, oh yeah, you got to give yourself grace. I'm like, no, I need to give myself a kick in the ass is what I need to do. Like, I just need to get like, stop having the excuses and realize like my wife is great. Like she's willing to like allow me to do what I need to do. So I'm like, I just need to go do it, stop messing around.
All right. So you gave yourself grace and now you can give yourself a kick in the ass. So you
Yeah,
have,
there you go.
you have the seasons, and what's hard is when we're high achievers and we're high A's or type A's or whatever driven, like anytime you have to like reflect or heaven forbid rest or heaven forbid plan, we see it as like a waste of time. It's just like, let's just steer 90 miles an hour all the time. So you had your reflection, your resting, your planning. Now you can be back to ass kicking mode. Now that you're back in ass kicking mode, what is your main like what are you mainly focusing on?
Big thing for me is like my one thing is getting to bed at a decent time, because if I do that, then I get to the gym in the morning. If I get to the gym in the morning, then I hit all the calls I'm supposed to, and then I get into like the lead generation that I want to do, which is executing my DTD2 plan. And I sent out in the mail RPR reports at the end of last year to all my clients that have been in their home for like 2+ years. I sent out, I think like 115 of them in the mail with like handwritten notes. And now I'm going through like 10 at a time, making Loom videos and following up now that it's like a quarter later. And I get tremendous responses on those. So I want to get through that and then just continue executing DTD2. But my other big thing is I got to control my mindset, because I look back and like through the end of this month, I'm going to be pretty much even with where I was last year. But I feel so like slow, and I feel like I'm really letting the market is slowing down get to me, and it's just not a healthy thing. So I'm trying to like fix my mindset too.
Okay. How was your sleep last night?
Pretty good. I went to bed a little bit later than I wanted to, but I did get to the gym at 6 this morning. So good.
Yeah, you seem like you got like high energy today. Like
I also had an energy drink, so and carrots. I got my carrots and my cucumbers. These things are little energy bombs here.
All right, cool. We talked about your reports in our listing meeting in the Loom video, and like we thought that was a very good idea to, time consuming, although what better way could you use your time, like than a customized, like, so what I recently remembered, I heard it before, and I mean, it's Jeff Glover or anyone like Gary Keller, whoever, they always say that the level of your business will be directly proportional to the amount of time you spend hearing no. Like the quicker you can get to know, the more money you're going to make. So what people always default to is easy, like, oh, I'll send out emails, or I'll send out social media, or I'll do this, like I'll look at the font, like Catherine's, like you're just like, you're thinking you're lead genning, but it's like the easiest possible route. And what you ask yourself is like, could people say no to you? Because if they can't say no to what you're doing, then you're not really lead generating. You're more like branding or marketing. And so my point is, like, you could send out whatever, like a RPR report, blah blah blanket, still cool because it's individualized, but this is like the next level of that. Like you giving a video that's customized to that person is almost like, if they don't respond to that email or that, like, they're kind of an asshole. It's like you put in like dedicated customized work, and you could use it as a call and as text, like, hey, check out this custom video I just sent you. So you're eliciting a response from them, like, oh, thanks, James, but we're not looking at moving this year, but this is really good information. Like, you're not going to get that response from like a blanket email or like something of that nature. So it's really, really good use of your time. And you're like sharpening the skills of like knowing what their home's worth and values and all of that. So yeah, I really like that idea.
Yeah, it's been going really great. And you're right, people do seem to respond really well. They love getting that. I send them a text and I say, hey, I made this short video for you as a follow-up to that report I sent out. You can see, like in the thumbnail, you can see my picture, you can see that it's their house. I get responses left and right.
Yeah. That's awesome. So who's on with Team Smith? Is it Sheila, Mark, both?
It's Sheila.
Okay. So you and I talked a little yesterday at Homegrown Cappers, and
Yeah.
and you don't have to share anything. You can come here to learn, listen, but like what is your top priority now? And could you fill in just the group of like what your plans are with your team?
Yeah, we are trying to do more door knocking again, like we did last year, and that really kept us like super busy all year. And then it kind of falls off in the winter because you don't door knock in the winter so much. So our first quarter is, like everybody's too, though, is very slow. And now we're getting back into doing more door knocking, and I've been doing a lot of CMAs for people on the DTD2 and people that Mark talks to through the door knocking. We send out lots of CMAs to all those people. I do kind of like the idea of doing a Loom video. I haven't used Loom yet, so I'll have to look into doing that and see if I can add that to get more response from those things that we send out.
Okay. And then what about your team additions plans?
Yeah, he's going to be doing door knocking too with Mark. He's kind of in limbo because he's still waiting to get his actual number, his license and his license number. So they've been having a little glitch at the DSPS or wherever he gets that from, because they think he's a different Tanner Smith that has some issues with the law, and so they're trying to work through that right now and try to get his license to him as soon as possible.
And that's your son. So I don't know if everyone knows, but like your son is looking to join your team.
Yeah.
So you don't have to change your team name. That's good.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be funny if like I apologize, but wouldn't it be funny if like it was actually the Tanner Smith that did all those things, like that was your son and that's how you found out?
Oh yeah, I know.
Like
sometimes I would put that past a boy to not say anything, but I think I would know. I don't know if he really had to go to court for something.
This is an AI story, but like there was a 14-year-old girl and her father was getting, or their Target was sending her these like pregnancy postcards or like diapers and like baby bottles and like all this, and the dad went in and got like super irate and was like, how dare you send these to my daughter? And then like a couple weeks later she told her dad like, hey dad, I'm pregnant. Like, so somehow Target knew before like anyone did. So I mean maybe based on just what she searches or whatever, the algorithm behind that story, but that's where the future is heading, with everything. So just quick plug on that. Okay, so you're looking at now it's not just you and Mark, you also will have another mouth to feed, quote unquote, or like someone to provide for, and
yeah,
that's a new step for you guys, correct?
Yep.
Cool. All right. Mine was when we ended last month, mine was around identifying in detail. I'll just read it. So listing out the characteristics of the ideal agent we want to add to the team. So looking at this, I did do that. And I'm happy to share I did that. So we took a look at this, and our coach is talking as a wide receiver. And I may have said this already, so I apologize, but if you're drafting a wide receiver, you don't just say, I want a wide receiver. You say, I want a wide receiver that's 6'4" or taller, that's this fast, that can jump this high, that can, this and that. Like, you have very specific criteria for this player. And as realtors, we don't think that. We're just like, hey, I want a buyer agent, or hey, I want this. It's like, well, if you don't get very clear on what you want, then anything can look like what you want. So I identified 3 types of people, agents, that could benefit our team greatly. And just by having clarity around this has led us to finding 2 people that I'm taking through the career visioning process, or I'm about to start taking them through the career visioning process. But it also gives me more confidence, or more just like peace, knowing that it's like, hey, this is one of our 3 needs. So I'll read those needs real quick, because it may help you, and identifying what you guys might be looking for. Before I do that though, James, is your team pretty much in like are you guys looking at adding anyone right now? Or are you guys looking at just like grinding yourselves, getting leads up, and then once that happens, adding people?
Yeah, the second thing.
Okay. So just curious. So, all right. So the first receiver identified is someone that has a proven track record of selling 4 million or more. They've been in the business for 3+ years. They want to limit their expenses, their responsibilities, and their tasks. They don't want to hire, train, and hold people accountable anymore. Maybe they had a team or had an agent. They don't want that anymore. Ideally, they're looking to specialize in one area, listings or buyers, and they're not looking for leads from us. They're looking for their life. They're looking to have all of the stuff taken care of them for them. Ideally, they wouldn't have been very good at communicating systematically to their database. They can plug into our team, and we do that very well. So when I think of that really got born from Lisa Packard joining Shipley's team. It was like, God, what I would do to have like a Lisa Packard. And you think of it, she doesn't need leads from them. Her buyer agent got out of the business. That's her second buyer agent. She didn't want to do it again. She's limiting her expenses. She's only focusing on listings. She's giving her buyers to the team. It's like perfect, right? Like that would be ideal. Now Lisa sells like 15 million. So she's like a diamond in the rough. But that was Jackie Boyd when she joined our team. Like Jackie, I think, did 9 million or 7 million or quite a bit. And so when we got Jackie, like that's who we attracted. We don't have leads, like great leads, like a plethora of great leads. So I don't want to make leads the center of our value prop. And this may not be on your radar this second, but Jeff Glover did a very good podcast around building your team the right way in 2023. And it was supposed to be 9 steps, but he always has a couple extras. The first step was the first step was getting to know who you are, who you want to be in business with. So I was like, oh, cool. Making a list of that. The second step was don't make leads like your value prop. Don't even make it like one of the first 3 things on your value prop. The team that makes leads their biggest value prop, he said, is the teams that have the biggest turnover, the teams that have the lowest profit, making like what else could be valuable. Well, to this person, everything I said was valuable. To Lisa, what they're trying to do for her is more valuable than any lead could be. The second receiver, this is someone like just for ours, like seeing James's energy today, like I just want to be around him because I'd be like, yeah, man, let's do it. Like So the second receiver is someone that's super hungry, their talent, they're super high in intensity, responsiveness, assertiveness, competitiveness. Where would you find out if someone is high in, other than their personality, but like where would you really find out if they're high in intensity, responsiveness, assertiveness? What tool does Keller Williams have?
That personality test, I don't forget what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, the KPA.
So the KPA. Now, I heard a really good tip from a top leader in our industry, and there's this page. This page is the report card, and what it does, I apologize, it's not very easy to see, but what it does is for every role, it gives a range of where they should fall in line with that trait, and then it gives their black box, and if the black box is within the range that they match. Now, of these traits, there's responsiveness, there's assertiveness, and there's intensity. So like what the guy said was he's had some turnover on his team. He's has some people that drive him crazy. He also has some people that he loves and that they're all for the team and they've been with him forever. So he pulled this sheet for every single person on his team, and he realized that everyone that they stayed, that they got along with, that gelled, were high in responsiveness, assertiveness, and intensity, and everyone that wasn't was low on those. So it's like if you get very clear of what you're looking for, the last thing I want is to have to like always pour my intensity into them. Like at some point, I want to be around someone and be like, hell yeah, like you just gave me some energy. Now tomorrow I may give you energy, but it's not always this one-way street. I'm going to make it a priority or a requirement. They have to have their own database. Now the 201 is the number that has been proven to be that next level. So if you're brand new in the business, get a database of 201. You know, it might not be the best people to start with, but let's start with that. And then we can top grade. They crave accountability. They crave coaching. They do whatever it takes. Doing hard shit excites them. So if I'm painting a picture of like the type of person, and typically this receiver too, they might be newer to the business. Maybe they're younger, maybe they're not. I want them to be able to I want them to prefer to show up in person, to show up to the office, to show up to the events, and then they can just plug into our systems models as a guardrail, and they can just figure it out on their own and crush. They can just grind. Again, even for a new agent, I don't want to make leads top of the scale for them. Like, hey, we're going to turn you into a different person. We're going to give you the support you need. We have the onboarding system. We have the coaching. We have all the experience. And then maybe you'll get a lead here and there, but we're not going to guarantee that. We're going to teach you how to like blow up a 135, and then we'll give you some frosting on the cake, but we're not going to give you the cake. The third receiver is agent with a proven track record of selling at least 20 homes a year to their database, and they're looking to exit real estate in the next 1 to 3 years. So very clear, like if they sell 20 homes a year, but it's to Zillow or it's to like something that's not, I say willable, or like you can't take over, we're not interested. Ideally, they're not even good at communicating to their database, because then that 20 might turn into like 30. So if there's any one of those 3 people, like I want to talk to them. I want to merge them. My role has become very clear. It is trying to find multiple, like one source that could provide multiple deals a year. And I can do that through hiring. I can do that through adding mergers to the team, but I can also do that through business to business, working with investors, Like, but the filter, the guide that I'm using that lens through is how can I get one relationship that would give us multiple deals? It's called your oh God, your man. Does anyone know what that's called? It's in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. It's like the center of the bullseye. Anyways, I'll find it. But that's my focus. So, any questions or thoughts on that?
I love the way you've got that laid out. And it's very purposeful. And even if you find a culmination of the three, or maybe the two of those, you know where you're going with that person.
Yeah.
What I
Are
like
you
too is,
looking
I mean, that's
into-
like setting up your reticular activator to find that stuff. You know, you're going to be looking for that versus kind of like what you mentioned, James, in terms of like feeling a lot of negative around like, don't fail, don't fail. And it's like, if we are constantly saying that stuff, we're probably going to fail. But if it's like, we're saying things that are positive, we're future pacing ourselves, I think we're going to find ourselves in a much better spot. But that takes a lot of intentionality to do that, you know? So.
Yep. I hear my coach saying all the time is like, don't take someone like in the industry and try to teach them like what you're looking for. Like, take someone that has what you're looking for and teach them the industry. So if you want that intensity, that drive, that responsiveness, like, find that person doing it in whatever and then bring them into real estate versus trying to get an agent, only looking for agents and then being like, hey, like, this is how we do things here. Like, it's just not going to happen. So cool. I love that.
Hey, just a quick heads up on mindset. I've been listening to the Rick Rubin podcasts. This year, he's changed it to more of a mindset format. And so I would invite everyone to check it out. They're typically somewhere between 10 to 15 minutes and just talks about, hey, talk to yourself in a kinder, gentler way. And James, to what you were saying is, he was talking about how he can be negative, but what he's redoing is thinking, here I go again, thinking I can fail when I'm not going to, restructuring that sentence versus, and I have used it a couple of times already and it's worked for me. So I just thought.
That's awesome. It's so important. I mean, whatever it takes to get your mindset right is whatever it takes. And your point about sleeping, like, I've thought about sleep, like, and how important it is, but I never in a million years was like, you know what, I'm going to be committed to going to sleep at a decent time. But out of like necessity for me right now, because I'm less than a month to my race, I don't want to have an excuse come race day that said, if only I would have done this, if only I would have done that. Like, I don't want that to enter my mind. So I've given up drinking for it'll be like 45 days at that point. Committed to sleeping better. Come May, I'm really gonna taper out my diet. Right now, I've tapered it out tremendously. So it's like, I don't want that to be an excuse, but the power of sleep, I would argue it could be the one thing that makes everything else easier or unnecessary.
That's how I got there, Scott. It was, for me, it was totally after reading the one thing. I was like, all right, I want to do my lead generation. I'm like, but hold on, like, how do I ensure that this happens, that I do my lead generation? It's like, I'm at the office by this time. It's like, well, how do I ensure that that happens? I just kept working backwards, and that, like, going to bed at a certain time was the thing that like anything before that didn't really matter what I did. As long as I did that, everything else the next day was in order.
Cool. I mean, try to have a good mindset when you don't have good sleep. And I mean, praise all mothers in the world. Like it's almost impossible to have good sleep. It's not even it's not like, hey, I'm gonna sleep well tonight. It's like, no, not really your decision. And now you gotta like try to function and have a positive attitude. And like, I mean, God. And so when you don't have, I mean, you have a legit real excuse on that. But yeah, like it's very important. So that's awesome that you brought that up. One thing I want to share, just really around updates on our team and what we're going through. And then I'd love to just hear from you guys. It's a smaller group, so we can get a little more in depth, because although this is a quick touch base with only 4 of us, 4 teams, we can go into a little more detail. So just one heads up, one piece of heads up that you guys will see is our coaches. Katie, did I mention pace on this call or on the last call?
Both.
Okay. All right. So we're diving in. We're really struggling.
Well, wait, no, you did. Sorry, no, you didn't mention it here. You mentioned
Okay.
it on the budget one. Yep.
Okay, good. So I thought so, but I could be wrong. So this year we're having a really tough year net profit, because it takes a lot of sales takes a lot of coal to feed this team. And we had 5 sales in January, 5 sales in February, 5 sales in March. And it's usually slow in the winter months, but by this time it usually gets really, it's like exploding. And it's like, okay, like we had a couple slow months, now we're going to just dominate, like game on. And it's just not necessarily happening this year yet. We're starting to feel it a little, but it could just be a fluke. We had 5 accepted offers in the last week or so. One of them's my own house. So I could buy 100 houses this year. I think that would help. But we're starting to feel a little momentum, but it's too soon to know if like this is just a blip or if it could be a trend. So we've had a lot of conversations that we've never had before. Just really detailed, like ugly, terrible conversations. And we're looking at everything to keep our team, to stay to stay in the business. It's do or die. So the first thing that we did is we and Sheila, I apologize, I know you heard this, and Catherine, you did too, actually, but we looked at it's a plan that would have 4 plans, and it's an acronym, it's a military term, so it's PACE. So our coach is ex-military, and he said create a primary plan, which we're amazing at. Like we always create a really good GPS. This year we've been taught by our coach, and we've had to modify it and upgrade it and holes poked in it, and it's like it's really solid, that primary plan. And then April hits, and we sold 15 homes and our goal is 220. So we're on pace for 60, and our goal is 220. Like if we keep on that same plan and don't adjust anything, like we're insane. Like we should literally be thrown in a loony bin. So the P is primary plan. The A is what's your alternative plan? Your primary plan didn't work out. What's your alternative plan? And you don't think of your alternative plan when you need your alternative plan. You think of your alternative plan when you do your primary plan. If that makes sense. The C is your contingency plan. And that means your primary plan didn't work out. Your alternative plan didn't work out. Now it's kind of like, oh crap, like what's happening? And if you think of military, like they can't be thinking of what to do. They just have to do it. So if lives are on stake or on the line, they have this detailed plan. If your communication goes, they all know what to do. And the E is just emergency. That is like, holy crap, let's throw the parachute. We're jumping out of the ship, we're jumping out of the plane, we got a parachute. So you're not only coming up with a primary plan each year, you're coming up with 4. And what we recently learned yesterday was it's not a year, it's every month. So like our challenge, what they gave us for homework is come up with a pace plan for May, and then come up with a pace plan for June. And maybe it's the same, but maybe towards this time in May, we got to adjust stuff based on how good we're doing or how bad we're doing. Well, our primary plan involved cutting out every expense that we could that wasn't a person. Like what could our database go without for a month or 2 or 3? What are we using that we just got, like it's called when you expense creep. So like you're making a lot of money, it's really easy to be like, oh yeah, let's add this thing that's $62 and let's add this thing that's $14. And it's just like, it doesn't ever hurt you until you look at it and it's like, oh crap, all that equals like $740. So we went on a cut probably about $8,000 out of our expenses. And it takes about $45,000 a month to run our team. Oh my God. Just saying that out loud is hard. So we did that. And now we got really clear on like gross profit. So gross profit is profit after cost of sales goes out. So after team expenses or referral fees, it takes us, we average about 4,500 in gross profit a deal. So we know that our gross profit needs to match our expenses if we want to break even. And if we want to make money, our gross profit has to be more than our expenses. But we figured out that, if let's just say it took us $45,000 to run the team, our first cut, we cut out $8,000. I'm just using real easy numbers. You have $38,000 and it's about 4,500 a deal of gross profit. We need to close about 9 deals a month to break even. So it's like, hey, we're really like clear on what that takes. When we're closing 5 deals a month, well, that's not breaking even. So like, what's the alternative plan? And we even looked in and we found even more that we could cut that wasn't people, but unfortunately it's like it's starting to be, okay, we can't have this salary on our books. This person, like it just doesn't make business sense. So we're looking about like, okay, well, who can take this role over? What will this look like? So I believe that come April is going to be iffy. We're going to be lower than normal, but I believe come May, we'll probably be around $30,000 a month instead of 45, if I were to guess. And, that's pretty significant. I don't know, it might even be less, but that's one thing. Like, and to James's point, what that can turn into really quick is don't fail. What can we cut? Like what, it's like, it's so much of like negative, but at the same time, it hasn't been like a 3-month period that we've been thinking this. It's been like a week and a half. And once we have this plan, the point of the plan is that we can activate the plan when needed. We don't have to think about it. So we're coming up with these 4 steps here. And we're to the point where Jeremy and I are needing to get back into production. So we're going to be holding ourselves accountable as the 2 of us as one, basically a number of listing appointments a week, number of listings taken, number of listings sold. Our number one way we can help our team is by getting a listing income that we don't have a cost of sale on. That's a tremendous difference. And I can look at it as a failure and like, oh my God, we're failing, we got to get back in the business. Or I can choose to look at it as being, you know, like more of a visionary leader, or like caring for our people, you know, or whatnot. And I'm choosing to think of it as the latter, because it's like, shit, the last thing I want to do is go back and sell houses, but it's necessary. We're also going to learn about the process of selling, you know, like the details. How can we make it better? Maybe when we get out again, maybe it'll just be that much more bulletproof, that much more systemized. But yeah, so I mean, an update is, this was just what, yesterday or Tuesday? Yeah, yesterday. Just like what the future looks like, going back on listing appointments, getting back in the saddle. So sometimes leadership is I mean, it's just recognizing where you have to go, what blind spots are you not seeing. So that's a real quick update on Lifetime Realty Group. And I mean, it sounds as though like the Krickeberg Group is probably in the same type of, not as extreme of a situation, but you guys are just really much like focused on your own lead gen, your own production. So any comments or questions or things around that journey?
I mean, I keep thinking about, you know, we've made a lot of changes to our 36 touch, and even the changes with you and Jeremy, like, to your point, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity in this if we choose to see it that way. Like, even with our 36 touch, we took a handful of things out, and as we're talking about it, we're like, do we feel like it really mattered? And everybody's like, not really. So it's like, how long have we been doing things where we're like, was this really effective or not? You know, or are we just like throwing $900 away every single month doing a mailer that like we weren't excited about, our clients didn't really care, like, you know. And this obviously gives you a chance to take a look at, like, is this making an impact? Is it useful? Is it helpful for our clients? And really forcing you to see it with a different lens. I really feel like we're going to come out on the other side with better ideas, better systems that are going to better serve our people and save your business money. So, which is a good opportunity to have. I mean, it's a forced opportunity at this point, but I definitely think that there's really good that can come of it if we're smart in this time, you know.
I love that. And then could you just give a quick rundown of like what we've changed in, at least in the events tab of our 36 touch, and the thought process of it, like how it came about?
So Jason Abrams he spoke in a mastermind that I had the chance to sit in on, and the challenge that he presented was, he said, hey, look at your 36 touches, what you're doing to your people, helpful, useful. I need to go back and look at my notes again. I have it on my desk at my house. It's like, is it useful and is it helpful? Something along those lines. And he was like, if what you're doing to your people does not fall into those categories, like, why are you sending them that stuff? And it was like, yeah, I really can hear what he's saying. So, you know, we were doing like a From Your Friends postcard, which was a nice automatic touch. We don't have to do anything but to upload a bunch of addresses into a website and it's done. So it's leveraged, which is great. But then, like, how do we know if it's effective? We really don't know if it's effective. We don't know if people use it. We don't really know if people like it, even though we've asked people if they like it. So we removed some things like that. And instead of doing a paid event in Q1, we're doing a blood drive on this coming Monday, which didn't cost us any money to do a blood drive. So the event itself didn't cost us any money. And, you know, we're really putting the focus on, we need to have our agents calling our people about these events. It's everything leading up to the event. It's the calls, the texts, the invites, like the communication with the database leading up to it. The event is what it is. It could literally be anything. It's what we're doing getting up to that point. So it's like, we found a way to do these things without it causing the business or costing the business money. So it just forced us to think in a different way, I would say. And we still got some work to do, and also to look to find sponsors for our events instead of us footing the bill for a good chunk of the money that we're spending on our lifetime clients. So, and we still got some work to do in that area. But I mean, that's been a big focus for us operationally, is coming up with a plan that helps our 36 touch, but doesn't cost us any money. So, or a lower amount of money is probably a more accurate way of saying it.
It's interesting to think of like, when you go through the lens of like, hey, we're cutting out our events versus no, what can we do for an event that doesn't cost money? Because
Mhm.
the event is powerful because it gives us a reason to call them. And sorry, I got like weird allergies right now, but it gives you a reason
It's
to
okay,
call them
Klaas, you can cry.
and to
It's
follow
okay.
up with them. So I just love that the initial response was like, hey, we're going to cancel this happy hour. We're going to cancel our event. But then they came up with, well, why? Like, what can we do instead? So it's like, oh, good question. And that's just like the filter, I think, of like everything. It may not be stop spending that money, but it could be, how could you replace that? Or how could it be done differently?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the way I was thinking about it was, I'm like, oh, $12,000 in a year to send postcards out through from your friends. Like, could we spend $12,000 in a more effective way to communicate with our database? I bet we can. You know what I mean? When you really think about it like that. So, and we have the staff to be able to do that. So it's just a matter of figuring out, is it helpful and is it useful? So.
I think, you know, in a sense, that's the right. I think, Scott, yesterday you talked about those companies that cut out marketing altogether and continued marketing, but reined it in during the epidemic. And I love the idea of giving back to your community as a marketing opportunity. And I think that is something that maybe it should always be in our marketing plans in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know, what can you cut out personally that you're spending money on? That, I mean, the point of your business is to net an income that you can live on. Well, what if you could live on less? Then you don't have to cut out stuff in your business, or you can even pour into your business. So it's just, it's a necessity right now, and it's what you do when it's this type of market. Then the question is, like, when it gets good again, do you keep these same habits, or do you get out of them and break them and make them bad again?
I was pretty fortunate that just naturally a lot of my personal expenses went down for things I like to do, just because we moved out of the city and we got little JJ now. So I've been being a lot less reckless than I was in the past. So I'm appreciating that now.
Did
Less
your beer
trips to
for
Cabo.
did your beer for diapers party diapers end yet, or are you still on free diapers?
We got plenty of free diapers up there.
Yeah. Wait till those run out. Then
Then he's got to get potty trained.
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think we'll be good for a little bit though. We stacked up pretty good on that.
Those parties are so fun. I love that.
We called it a dadchiller party.
Yeah, that's awesome.
My bachelor party was the day before we had Samantha, because she was
Oh,
3.5
you
weeks early. So it was like, I'm never gonna sleep again. It was so scary. So really quick, what do we want to do between now and next time?
I'd
Well, and
say
that's also part of the question too, is like, do we want to meet in person or not? And I don't know if that would just be like me emailing everybody that's on this.
Yeah.
A handful of people said yes, and then they declined the invite today. So maybe that's just an email to everybody on this invite asking if they'd want to meet in person or do it or meet virtually.
Yeah, I think we'll have to do that, because there's just so few people here, but,
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, James.
Oh, no, you're good. I'm down to do whatever you guys want, virtually or in person, whatever's best. And my goal is just to be right back into my routine. So that's what I need y'all to hold me accountable to, is getting back on what I was doing.
cool. I will, I'll have an update on the 2, possibly 3 people, that I'm looking, and then I'll have an update on my personal journey towards getting back in production. So those are like the 2. Anything more than that is is going to be